Glad to see everybody here today. This is a repeat of a course that we put on last week, Valentine's Day. So, talk about Chempack and forward placement. I first heard about this December 1st, 2004. I received an email from the CDC, basically, in the state, saying that they had this project and wanted to know if we wanted to be involved with it. So I went, oh my goodness, and forwarded it to Therese and to our director of the pharmacy department, who took it up the chain of command, and we said, yes, we do want to participate with this. So we felt it was very important. So what I'm going to talk to you about for the next 20 minutes or so is this Chempack. What is this Chempack that people keep talking about? Well, this is the mission of the Chempack Project. It's the implementation, it's a forward placement nationwide of nerve agent antidotes. As you're aware, if we have a catastrophic event with some type of nerve agent, we have to have antidotes administered relatively rapidly or people die. You will hear about this in the next presentation. What I'm going to talk about is the medications and sort of the process we went through to be able to house this Chempack project. So the CDC put this out. They involved the state and the local agencies. So we were involved with the Public Health and the Department of Health here in San Diego. One thing we were looking at is with these nerve agents, their sustainability. So as you know, with all drugs, they have a finite life, usually 1 or 2 years. As part of this project, they were incorporating, which I'll show you down here, they're called a SLEP project. And that's basically an extension of the expiration date. This Chempack project is to occur over a 10-year time period. The CDC actually owns these drugs. They don't belong to us. They don't belong to anybody who houses one of these Chempack containers. They belong to the CDC. They're monitored by the CDC 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, this year, 366 days out of the year. It has a sensophone on it, a 1-800 phone number, and the CDC, if something goes wrong with it, the sensor goes off, they will call us. And I'll talk a little bit about why it has to be, or why we have these sensors and why we have to be able to respond quickly to these agents in a minute. So, why is the Chempack needed? Already talked about, need to administer these antidotes relatively quickly. Well, before this project came about, they have these antidotes loaded on the Strategic National Stockpile, which is, you've probably seen pictures of these, big warehouse. They go on to 747 airplanes and they can get medications, so if we have anthrax, antibiotics, nerve agents, so forth, and supplies anywhere within a 12-hour time period within the United States, continental United States. Well, that's too long if there's a nerve agent attack. So we have to have these antidotes available relatively quickly. So that's why they put this project together, is to place these antidotes strategically around the country. Okay, hospitals, as you're aware, have finite resources. A lot of them do not even carry a lot of these antidotes. Be assured, UCSD has tons of drug available, just because we are a trauma center and we would expect to get a lot of casualties. So we carry extra supplies. Also, as part of this project, there would be significant liability if some institution said, nah, we don't want to participate in this, and lives were lost because they didn't have access to these antidotes. So there was a pilot project that began around 2002, between 2003, in New York and South Dakota, a highly urbanized area versus a primarily rural area, in placing these in strategic locations. Washington State was next, and then they hit Northern California and then Southern California. Southern California, we were finally completed in 2007. So you see, it's been a long, laborious 5-year process. They're also implementing this in other parts of the country, sort of as we speak. Again, the concept, it's the forward placement of nerve antidotes, developing guidelines. So we have put together a process to activate these in case the event of their need. We're validating cost, time, and equipment and procedures. They gave us actually $10,000 to house one of these. we spent more than that just trying to get the room to accept this agent, to store this Chempack, and again, over a 10-year time period with phone bills and all that stuff. So we're giving some goodwill in, along with housing this project. We also developed, as I mentioned, guidelines and the process in case this needs to get activated, what we would do locally in conjunction with the county and with the state. So there's 18 Chempacks were originally allotted to San Diego County. They were going to house these in 9 hospitals and 9 fire stations. I'll show you a picture of what these look like. The fire stations is because you can take these and load them onto a fire truck and take them to the actual scene. So first responders. We have ours here in the hospital because we would expect to be receiving many casualties in case something happens. If you notice, UCSD Hillcrest is on this list as one of the 9, but not Thornton. And the reason for that is Scripps has one, so they're relatively close. Plus, space is a real premium here at Thornton, so we weren't able to come up with a location. You also notice that there were 9 fire stations originally targeted. Now, there's only 5 that are participating. You had to be able to meet all of the requirements that the CDC put forth to allow you to accept one of these Chempacks. One of the fire stations could not get a phone line with a 1-800 number, so they were disqualified. Something simple as that. This is what one of the containers looks like. It's just a little container. It's on wheels, and it just contains boxes. Okay? The contents of these, there's 2 types of Chempacks. There's an emergency medical services, the EMS, which contains a lot of mostly autoinjectors, and then a few multi-dose vials for pediatric and elderly patients. Hospital Chempacks is just the reverse, mostly multi-dose vials and a few of the autoinjectors. What we decided to take here at UCSD is one of the EMS, because we wanted to be able to take the autoinjectors and have them already prepared, because if you have multi-dose vials, it means you need syringes, you have to draw up the doses, and that takes time. And time is of the essence when these medicines need to be administered. So here's the EMS Chempack, enough to treat 1,000 patients. They have the they're called Mark I autoinjectors. We'll talk about that in a minute. Multi-dose vials of Atropine, Pralidoxime, some Atropine, smaller doses, and then diazepam. There's multi-dose vials and autoinjectors, and then some sterile water, and then also the sensiphone, which I will show you in a minute. As opposed to the hospital container has a few of the autoinjectors and the majority of multi-dose vials. So as I mentioned, it's just the reverse. So here's what an autoinjector looks like. This is the diazepam. Or excuse me, this is the Atropine, 2 milligrams. This is the Pralidoxime. Diazepam, autoinjectors here, multi-dose vials, and then the different Atropine, different strengths. So medications already talked about. Pronunciation, Atropine. This alleviates the sludge symptoms that you'll hear about in the next lecture. Pralidoxime, aka 2-PAM. This one, it helps to reactivate compromised enzymes. Again, you'll hear about this, mechanisms, in the next lecture. And then for seizures, diazepam, Valium, diazepam. There's a new product that was just approved in September of 2006, which combines into a single syringe both of the Atropine and Pralidoxime. So it's this medication, the Mark I, into one syringe. It's not contained in the Chempack currently, but in the future, it might be switched out. We're not sure. We have some demos of this one as well that we will show you how to operate today. As I talked about, SLEP, Shelf Life Extension Program, extending the expiration date. To be able to do that, we have to maintain a constant environment, not too cold, not too hot, maintain the humidity, and this is what the sensiphone is monitoring. And if there's a problem, we have to be able to respond 24 hours a day within 1 hour to correct that problem. The CDC comes out about every 12 to 18 months, because again, they own the drugs. And it's funny because we just got an email after last week's lecture that they're going to be coming out in April to open up our Chempack, look at the supply, take a few of the drugs back, and actually do analysis on it to see the degradation products. So that's part of the extending the life of these agents. Okay, sort of the responsibilities, very quick. CDC is just responsible for providing, of course, the Chempack. Technical expertise, they advised the state. The state was very involved in making sure that we are meeting our timelines, our requirements to be able to house these. And they came in with all the paperwork when the CDC delivered these from Atlanta. Okay, also ensuring storage situations that meet DEA specifications, so control of scheduled medications. Maintaining the materials throughout the life cycle. I already told you it's a 10-year project, and they come out periodically to sample the products. They look at quality assurance inspections, and then they monitor via the 1-800 telephone. We had to put in a very special phone line, basically a plain analog line, to be able to accept the 1-800 number. And that was part of the $10,000 grant, so forth. The state responsibilities, they were sort of the go-between. You know, I get called from them saying, oh, the CDC is going to be here. We need to have an appointment to come out and check out your Chempack. Well, I get Therese involved, so forth. So they helped out with a lot of the logistics of the project. And then what are the requirements? Look at this list. It's huge. Controlled access. As with any pharmacy, it's control of pharmacy 24 hours a day. We had to be able to provide, and we're a hospital, so DEA number. The fire stations had to go out and get a DEA number to be able to house one of these. Minimum storage requirements, okay, what the containers have. Accessibility for the containers. The doorway. We had to have the measurements of a doorway so you can roll these things in and out. All these things we had to be able to provide to them. And we found a spot, and it is hidden at the Hillcrest facility. And under penalty of death, I can't tell you where it is. But in the event that it happens, the pharmacists know how to access it, and we can get it out very, very quickly. The sensophone, as I mentioned, a 1-800 number. Temperature, humidity, motion detector, the red emergency plug, smoke alarm. I mean, all this stuff had to be provided. So here's the Chempack again. It's just a nice container on wheels. This is that sensophone. And then reporting, already mentioned, every 12 to 18 months the CDC comes out. And if we're out of compliance, as I mentioned, we have to be able to respond within 1 hour to correct the problems. And there's an alarm on this. The CDC calls our pharmacy and says, hey, there's something going on with your Chempack. You got to look into it. So we would call environmental services and find out what the problem is and correct it. Timeliness. What was the implementation? I already told you. I was called December 1st in December 2004. And this is the anticipated timeline that the CDC put forth. They had a fairly aggressive schedule. They wanted to have all of these Chempacks placed in San Diego by October 2005. Well, you know what bureaucracy is. Here's actually what happened. So we received our Chempack 2 years later than the date that they anticipated. We received it about a year ago. So it's February 28, 2007. They were all placed in San Diego. So it was an aggressive schedule. They didn't quite adhere to it. They ran into a few roadblocks and stuff. But we finally got it. We're happy to have it. And next I'll turn it over about what happens in the event of activation. How does that occur? So Therese is going to take that, and I'm going to give you the microphone.